As the nation celebrates Veterans Day and our armed forces at the United States Naval Academy, 4 teams gather to show they're ready for the season ahead and a chance at glory in March. Tonight, our college basketball season tips off with a salute to the service of all past and present United States military members. First up, Shaka Smart and VCU plan to release havoc on a new-look Tennessee team coming off a surprising Sweet 16 run. Then, in his 20th season commanding Michigan State, Tom Izzo brings the Spartans to Annapolis to face a Navy team who hasn't beaten a ranked opponent since the Admiral commanded the Miz. We salute our armed forces in the inaugural Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans. From the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, this is the inaugural Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans. A doubleheader begins with the Tennessee Volunteers out of the SEC against the 15th-ranked VCU Rams. With Steve Lapis, Reggie Miller, Jamie Erdahl, I'm Carter Blackburn. And it's finally here. Time to throw it in the air, and it's college basketball season.
You know, when you coach, you're always nervous the first game. When you play also. But what a special place to be during Veterans Week, Reggie.
These kids have to be enjoyed by being around these men and women of the Service Academy. It's more than a game for them, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out and perform.
When we last saw the Tennessee Volunteers, they were in the Sweet 16. But, Steve, it is a very different Tennessee team that takes the floor tonight.
Yeah, this team only has 4 scholarship players back this year, and only Josh Richardson really played significant minutes, and he played great last year in the NCAA tournament. But he was a 2-guard. He's got to play the point on this team. But not only that, they have a new coach in Donnie Tyndall. Donnie Tyndall did a great job at Morehead State and Southern Mississippi. Tough jobs. He's got a better job now with a great opportunity to win. But he also brings with him a different style than Conzo Martin had. Donnie Tyndall wants to be able to steal the ball. They play a pressure matchup zone defense. At Southern Mississippi, the last 2 years, they were in the top 5 in the nation in steals. Not quite as good as Havoc, but Havoc-like.
Yes, and speaking of pressure defense for the VCU Rams, it begins with steals, and that begins with Briante Weber, the senior point guard. However, Weber is suspended for tonight's game, officially violation of team rules. Multiple media reports say it has to do with a stolen cell phone. But Reggie, with or without Briante Weber, VCU is going to play the same style.
Yeah, Shaka Smart doesn't have his ball hawk. Arguably the best on-ball defender in college basketball. Only 90 career steals away from the career leader in the NCAA. But Shaka, don't fret. You have one of the better players in the A10. Let's take a look at the AT&T fast analysis. Treveon Graham, a nightmare matchup for most guys. A bigger defender, he's going to take him into the post. A smaller defender, step back threes. This is a guy that can get you buckets and get you buckets in a hurry, Carter.
Game 1 from the United States Naval Academy. It's the Tennessee Volunteers against number 15 VCU. We'll tip it off next. In lovely downtown Annapolis, Maryland, we are on the yard.
Here to amaze. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by AT&T. Mobilizing your world.
In lovely downtown Annapolis, Maryland, we are on the yard. United States Naval Academy. We get it started with Tennessee versus number 15 VCU. Our starting lineup, Game 1, Veterans Classic, presented by Quicken Loans. Richardson at the point, Hunter Hubbs, Reese, and Armani Moore for Tennessee. For the VCU Rams, it's Jaquan Lewis who starts at point, along with Johnson Burgess, Treveon Graham, and Mo Alley Cox. For Shaka Smart, now in his 6th season as head coach of the VCU Rams, highlighted by the trip to the 2011 Final Four. For more on the experience for the VCU Rams and the rest of these teams, here's Jamie Erdahl.
A true academy experience started Thursday morning for these 3 visiting teams. Players and coaches got hands-on experience on a ship simulator, a Humvee, even a helicopter. Some of these Tennessee players told me they had a hard time getting out of the helicopter. Thursday night, the coaches attended a reception hosted by the Naval Academy superintendent. They received a very special gift, a sword with their names inscribed on them. The reception was at the Buchanan House, the second most publicly visited house behind the White House in the nation. And of course, all the coaches could agree that this gift would not be allowed around their teams after a tough practice.
Now the question for all the basketball ops guys is, how do you get the sword home after the flights? I mean, not a problem for Navy. VCU is right up the road, but the Spartans and for the Tennessee Volunteers. So it's Havoc against the Tennessee Volunteers. So Steve, we'll start with you. What's the biggest challenge for the Tennessee Volunteers against the Rams pressure D?
Well, they're playing against a team that is the best pressure team probably in America. They've led the nation the last 3 years in steals, and they don't have a pure point guard. And interestingly, punter was bringing the ball up that time, and Donnie Tyndall had talked about Josh Richardson being his point guard, and now to start the game, Kevin Punter plays on top. So I think they have some problems with their point spot.
Well, understanding no Briante Weber, we talked about that at the top as a nice backdoor cut there to get Tennessee their first basket. They're going to have to get back in defense. We see just because they scored at one end, you know that Havoc offense, we talk about the defense, Havoc offense is pretty good as well of scoring on your missed opportunities.
Reggie, nothing will drive you crazier, and you know as a coach, than scoring and then giving the other team a basket on the other end.
And now right back to Tennessee as both teams on the deck at midcourt. And an early foul was on Jaquan Lewis, the sophomore point guard who's starting in place of Briante Weber. So he has one. That time it was Richardson bringing it up for Tennessee.
And Carter, if you're Coach Tyndall, you can't turn the basketball over. Understanding that's what Havoc and that's what it's all about is turning you over. But if you can get possessions, that's most of the teams that have been successful against VCU is when they've had chances to score the basketball.
Tony Green, part of our all-star officiating crew. Joe Lindsay, Jamie Lucky, Tony Green, our referees.
There's only one way to play against a team that presses like this. You have to attack. That's the only chance you have. You cannot run your offense. You got to attack the basket.
So here's Richardson guarded by Lewis way away from the basket. Richardson, the senior, but as Steve pointed out, new position at the point when he's at the point.
Yeah, he was really effective as a two guard, but you can see he's not the most comfortable ball handler. You can tell right away.
Moore with 4 seconds on the shot clock has to step out. Problem with the shot clock not resetting, so Jamie Lucky will head to the scorer's table.
And Donnie Tyndall, he went with his small team. This is not the team he started in the 2 exhibition games that they played. They were starting Woodson, who's a big kid. They are going with the smaller team, more ball handlers on the floor. I think it's a good move by Donnie Tyndall.
8 newcomers on this Tennessee roster this year. That is a program record. Again, Conzo Martin after the Sweet 16 run, accepting the job at Cal in the Pac-12. So Donnie Tyndall coming from Southern Miss. And some NCAA questions about the tenure at Hattiesburg. More on that later for Donnie Tyndall. But bottom line, it is a big changeover year for the Volunteers.
They lost a lot. Jordan McCray and, as I called them last season, the Bruise brothers and Mayman.
John L. Stokes now in the NBA as well. Triple goes down in the corner for Jordan Burgess.
Jordan Burgess and Melvin Johnson, the 2 best shooters on this team.
Another problem with the clock.
Dribble drive penetration. You collapse the defense. And this is what we've seen from Shaka Smart and the Rams. The ability to stretch the floor and knock down shot. Burgess with a nice 3.
Now, sometimes it seems that 2 seconds in the backcourt is like 10 against VCU, but that exactly was 2 seconds that in the buzzer sound. So, again, problem with the buzzer. The score is right, 5-2 VCU on Tennessee, and it's a 5 straight now for VCU. Well, Tennessee last year, 24-13. They finished 4th in the SEC and then went on that probable run through the first 4 in the NCAA tournament all the way to the Sweet 16. It was a terrific run led by your Bruise brothers, Reggie.
Yeah, Jarnell Stokes, to me, was one of the most outstanding players in the tournament last year. His ability to get double-doubles, they were physical. And I think that, let's give Conzo Martin a lot of credit. There was a lot of, we talked about, there was a petition and people were out, looking for him to be replaced. I thought he did a great job for the guys that he had on that ball club.
He did a tremendous job. You look at how they played in the tournament. They were terrific defensively. Jarnell Stokes, as you said, was a load, who also is a very good passer for a big guy. But you know what? I give Conzo Martin credit. They got petitions going out, and he coached his head off. And I also, truthfully, I don't blame him for going into another opportunity like this. It's a great opportunity for Donnie Tyndall. It's a great school. but following Bruce Pearl was not the easiest thing for Cuonzo Martin. I give Cuonzo Martin a lot of credit.
So the issue is obviously with the shot clock, and so it just keeps running.
Well, that shouldn't be a problem with both of these teams.
Right,
they like to get it up quick.
We may not use 35 seconds
the shot clock off and just let these two teams play.
Now, speaking of Tennessee, part of that challenge for Donnie Tyndall was all of Cuonzo Martin's recruiting class went with him to Cal. So the incoming freshmen who were going to be coming from Tennessee, Donnie Tyndall then had to take the class from Southern Miss, add some junior college players into it, which is how you end up with 8 new scholarship players, including Dominique Woodson transferring from Memphis.
You know, he's got a tough job. I mean, they're picked 13th in the SEC, but really, after Kentucky and Florida, the SEC has really become what no one has claimed that 3rd spot, I don't think. So he's got an opportunity to be able to move into the upper echelon in that. It's not like the ACC where you got to have Duke, Carolina, Louisville, Syracuse. You want to leapfrog those guys, it's a lot. Kentucky and Florida, okay, they're 1 and 2. Be 3rd. 3rd is pretty good.
I like Coach Tyndall's quote. I want my team to be the most overachieving team in basketball. And look at this is a brand new roster. He wants his guys, look, we're not going to settle for being ranked 13 in the SEC. Let's go out, let's turn some heads. We're going to change our style a little bit. They're going to get up, they're going to get after you. I'm just putting a little bit more pressure on this young team.
And you're going to see the one thing about their defense. I have not seen a 1-3-1 matchup zone like that since John Chaney. And I played against John Chaney a lot. He may be the best zone coach ever, or certainly one of them. And this 1-3-1 zone that they play is very similar to the one John Chaney used. Very aggressive.
Interesting you call it a 1-3-1, right? Because it's so amorphous that...
Yes.
We still have a problem with the shot clock. 3 seconds went off it before the ball was inbounded. Now we'll see if the clock is correct here at Alumni Hall. It appears to be running, and now we get back to basketball at last. And it's Richardson bringing it up again. Kevin Punter, the junior from the Bronx, junior college All-American, sharing the duties so far. And now a foul on Melvin Johnson. That's the second on VCU. Richardson, 19 points per game during that NCAA tournament run as a junior playing off the ball. He likes being on the ball, likes being a point guard at 6'6".
You know, you can like it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing for you.
Lewis gets the steal. Jaquan Lewis misses at the rim. Richardson brings it back. Hobbs in the corner. Out of bounds, Tennessee ball.
As a coach, how did you prepare when knowing you were going to go against a team that was going to go 40 minutes of trapping and pressure, Coach? Did you have extra guys on the court?
7 against 5.
Okay.
We went 7 against 5 all the time and let the defense just go crazy and trap. Had those 2 guys, the extra guys, trapping all over the place. It's the only way you can simulate it, really.
Here's the load you were talking about, Carter. Dominique Woodson on the floor now for Tennessee.
And you like it when that big man creates for the shooter, right, Reggie?
I do. Throw it out to me. Let me do what I do best.
Melvin Johnson has an answer for VCU. Another quick response from the Rams.
And you know, that's where that defense is susceptible in the corner. They've made 2 threes from the deep corner already, VCU.
So here's Punter off the screen from Woodson at the top. Hubbs misses the pass. It's off Tony Green. Loose ball off VCU. It was Williams hustling to the floor, but the Vols get it back.
How about the last play by Tennessee? The ball goes down low to the big fella, Dominique Woodson. Look at all the gray jerseys around. It does a great job of knocking it out for the 3.
He's a very good passing big man, and if you have a big man that can pass the ball, getting it to him in the middle of the floor is huge because he can go both ways. That time he throws it to the corner with a nice pass right on the numbers. Reggie Miller would have been able to make that one in his sleep with his eyes closed.
Melvin Johnson gets a break for VCU. He has 5 of VCU's 8. Richardson guarded by Treveon Graham now.
Here's the problem when you have Josh Richardson as your point guard. He was so fantastic during the tournament last year. His focus really isn't scoring because he's trying to get everyone else involved.
And even that shot there, Reggie, he got it back and he was open, but he's doing so much with the ball. He wasn't kind of ready to shoot the ball. You know, he's a 2-guard, and now he's playing out of position. It'll be interesting to see as the season goes on how he adapts to that.
So the rhythm changes receiving it, even if he's playing point or two.
Yeah, even in a situation like that where you'd think that's a shot he would get normally, just not the same.
Williams gets fouled by Richardson. That's Jonathan Williams, the freshman who grew up in Richmond and went to St. Benedict's Prep. They think highly of Jonathan Williams. I know on Tuesday practice, Sean Singletary, the great Virginia guard, went with our pal Pete Gillen to VCU practice and got some pointers from Sean Singletary. And now the 3 missed from Terry Larrier, another VCU freshman. Guest misses the stick back. How about another chance? Finally goes down Terry Larrier.
These VCU Rams are almost like human pogo sticks. If you don't put a body on them, they're going to continue to be aggressive on the offensive glass.
Great recruiting class, 14th in the nation. Larrier, Tillman, Williams, these guys can really play, these freshmen.
Derek Reese from the baseline for the Vols. And now Tennessee shows pressure in the backcourt.
They like that 1-2-2 3/4 court press. As we talked about earlier, Donnie Tyndall, one of the best in the country in forcing turnovers himself. That's a great move. That's what you need to do with that defense. Attack the seams and take it to the basket.
So the Vols get 2 off the turnover. Punter with the lay-in. Well, we talk all about havoc, but Tennessee turning up the defensive pressure.
Well, this is what you have to do. They have defensive pressure, but they also are doing a great job right now of attacking that pressure and being very aggressive. That's how you break a press.
It has been a very special week around the nation as we honor our veterans and honor our current service members, and it has been our pleasure to spend the past few days here at the United States Naval Academy. For the Tennessee Volunteers, a lot of ties, both past and present, relatives who have served in the United States Armed Forces, including present day Derek Reese, whose brother Robert is currently serving in the United States Marines, and a proud tradition for these Tennessee players and family, and it has been a lot of fun to watch the other teams interact with the United States Naval Academy these past few days.
You know, we're very fortunate. We get a chance. We get the best seats in the house to watch and call basketball. There's more to it than basketball, and I'm glad these other 3 teams are getting a chance to see what these men and women are going to do to be great leaders in this country. And it's a selfless job, what all the service academies do, and I'm glad these other players are getting a chance to see on an everyday basis what they go through.
Well, you know, my father fought in the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. He took a bullet in the arm, and I know after that, he always, when I was growing up, those was the proudest moments. And he was born in Greece, and the proudest moments of his life was when he was fighting in World War II. He was scared to death, he told me, but he was so proud of what happened.
Well, I noticed the Tennessee Volunteers picked up a big phrase yesterday at lunch. Plebes, as in the freshmen here on campus. Yeah, so that the Vols loved it. They're like, oh, they're taking that one back to Knoxville with them. The freshmen are all plebes now around.
But they don't want to know what the plebes go through. They might call them plebes, but if you really want to know what a plebe goes through, you need to come here and actually see what these midshipmen go through, the plebes.
Derek Reese was one of those who admitted that he had a hard time getting in and out of the helicopter that they toured yesterday. And here is Reese from the baseline, off the window, boarded by Guest.
You know, if you're Donnie Tyndall right now, you get to the first TV timeout with VCU having only 1 steal, you're feeling pretty good about the way you're attacking their pressure.
And shooting 57% from the field.
Brooks misses the 3. Richardson with a chance to tie it or give the Vols the lead. Post entry to Willie Carmichael III, freshman from Florida.
Nice ball movement.
Mostella. Fight for the rebound. Vols keep it.
You know, you watch these. I've watched Tennessee on tape, but you see them close up. You see they're pretty athletic too, and they have a lot of guys very similar in size, so they can do some things in their pressure that right now have VCU a little bit out of whack.
Also, to that point, Coach, I think the Shaka Smart and VCU getting a little bit out of character. I know they like to use havoc and turn the ball over, but they're settling for too many quick shots.
That was a big emphasis for the Rams this year, is shot selection, not letting the aggressive defense lead to over-aggressive offense. Richardson on the wing, walked. Second turnover forced by VCU.
What way to kick off college basketball, guys. I'm excited. Think about this. We are opening it up to be here on the yard, as Carter said, the Naval Academy. 3
of the 4 teams in this tournament competed in the NCAA tournament a year ago. VCU lost their first game against Stephen F. Austin. Sweet 16 for Tennessee, Elite 8 for Michigan State.
And let's give Navy head coach, and we'll see him later on and talk about the whole situation, Ed DeChellis, a lot of credit. This was his brainchild. He was looking at, Michigan State playing on the aircraft carrier and playing overseas, and he was starting to think, you know what, this should happen here. We want to see this, be a part of that.
I mean, the look on Shaka Smart's face at the superintendent's house last night when he was presented with the sword, he was as wide-eyed as anybody else about getting the special honor from the superintendent. Meanwhile, for VCU, an offensive drought, only 1 field goal in the last 3.5 minutes. And that foul goes on Armani Moore for Tennessee.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm very impressed with this half-court defense that Tennessee plays here. It's very aggressive. If you throw it in the corner, they do a little bit of trapping, and they're really forcing it. Now, obviously made a nice shot there. Jaquan Lewis was a good shooter, but they've been struggling in the half-court.
Lewis, a sophomore from Tennessee, playing against the Vols. Moore swatted inside by Justin Tillman.
Nice recovery there by Tillman. Looked like Armani Moore was getting ready to do the Euro step here. And there's the block shot there and the recovery.
Justin Tillman, part of that big recruiting class for Shaka Smart, freshman from Pershing High School in Detroit.
Takes a certain brand to play Shaka Smart's type of basketball. Long, athletic, quick jumpers. That's exactly what Larrier, Tillman, they all possess those qualities for Shaka Smart.
That time they throw the ball into the corner. VCU puts the trap on, but they let him out of the trap. A trap is great, but if you let somebody get through that trap, now it's 4-on-3. They're lucky that they didn't pay for it there.
14 fouls already on Tennessee. That's a first on Carmichael. Tillman in there fighting for the rebound.
And this is a 2-2-1 press that Tennessee uses in the 3-quarter full court situation.
Lewis picks up the dribble. Tennessee takes it away. Armani Moore leads the way.
Nice pass.
Dumps it off, and Mostella finishes.
That was great pressure defense by Tennessee that time, knowing exactly when to trap the ball and stepping up.
Lewis lob taken away by Woodson. Vols on the run again. Mostella. Foul on the floor before the shot.
Well, you look at this Tennessee pressure defense here, and they know exactly when to go after people. Now they have Havoc a little bit out of whack, get a hand on that pass, and they are gone. They have 5 athletic guys on that floor. Woodson, even though he's a big kid, he runs pretty good, but they get up and down themselves pretty good.
Interesting. I had a chance to see Woodson during the tournament last year when he was with Memphis. He was 300 bills, y'all. He looks really good. I don't know what he did in the offseason to lose that 30, 40 pounds, but this is the best I think he's ever looked in his life.
A lot of times a change of scenery, Reggie, get a new life, and, you feel good, and you start you mature, which is what happens. These are kids when they go to college, and they mature while they are there.
Woodson spent his freshman year in Memphis, part of a basketball journey, goes back to Austin, Texas. Was not offered another scholarship by Memphis, so he's immediately eligible for the Vols. Hunter fouled on the way to the hoop. That's the second on Jaquan Lewis.
The other thing, I know we're not belaboring the point about this Tennessee defense, but having Punter on top, who's got good size, 6'4", long arms, on top of that matchup zone is very tough. And you know what? A lot of people play zone, And when you play zone, usually on offense, you come down, you take your time, you pick it apart. This is not a zone you can take your time against because they are pressuring you. That's the difference between the zone that Tennessee plays and most other zones, including Syracuse. Syracuse, they'll trap in the corner once in a while, but it's not aggressive like this one.
Have you heard the old adage, a team that likes to press doesn't like to be pressed themselves?
Yeah.
And right now it looks like Shaka Smart and the Rams are taking a step back at the pressure by Tennessee.
And, you know, Reggie, we talked about that yesterday, and I don't understand why that should be. If you're Havoc and you play against pressure every day.
And you're doing it every day in practice.
You would think you'd be pretty good playing against it.
Sure.
And yet the Vols flipping the script. Second free throw rattles home. It's Tennessee on a 5-0 run to pull within one. Again, the second on Lewis. Breonte Weber suspended. So depth rarely an issue for VCU, but it is right now. Outlet taken away. Rams will bring it right back.
And you know, the other thing about being a pressing team like VCU, it wears on you after a while. The question is, can Tennessee keep going without turning the ball? Great shot.
Melvin Johnson straight away.
I mean, that was a 35-footer there by Melvin Johnson.
That was Lewis-esque. Wow. See, you can't.
There's that pressure. You can't turn your back to the defense because you assume that you're going to be able to soft lob it back, and that's where they get you.
And
Five straight for Melvin Johnson.
And they keep throwing the ball into the deep corner.
Another takeaway. Johnson over to Burgess this time. Foul. Question whether it's on the floor or in the shot. Pressure turning up for the Rams.
And this is Havoc at its best right here. After a made field goal right here, look at the 35-footer here by Melvin Johnson. Not even allowing the Tennessee defense to get settled. As soon as the ball comes in, they set the defense. 5 quick points here by Melvin Johnson and that Havoc defense.
You know, you can't throw the ball into the deep corner against this full court pressure, number one. You got to run the baseline and try to get the ball more into the middle of the floor. If it goes in the corner, you got to get rid of that thing ultra quickly against this team. And you know, Reggie, in my time coaching, the one guy whose teams in the old days used to play most like Havoc is sitting right near you, John Thomas.
Yes.
They used to get after you in a full court way also.
An 8-0 VCU run to take command again against the Vols. There's a foul on the floor, not on the shot, but it's on Williams.
And here's the thing, too. Now Tennessee is trying to go one-on-one to break this press, and you can't do that. Ball movement, you got to look over the press and move the defense. If you think you're going to dribble through Havoc, you're going to be sitting over there next to Coach Tyndale.
And you know what? They kind of sucker you into playing that ultra-fast tempo, and sometimes you got to play slow, and sometimes you got to attack, and you got to pick your spots because they'll wear you out mentally with this pressure.
So that 8-0 run by VCU is 8 straight for Melvin Johnson, the junior who averaged 10 a game last year.
I mean, that's 8 points in what, 45, 50 seconds?
I know a guy who's done that before.
I've seen it, heard about it.
No, like 8 seconds,
Wow.
10 seconds.
Williams resets for VCU. Williams splits the double in the paint.
Nice
That's
move.
a freshman, folks. Jonathan Williams, and one.
Gotta love freshmen here. His first game on the big stage. If you're Tennessee, you want to double high screen and rolls. Nice curl, nice split. The and one when we come back.
Three steals in the last 4 minutes for VCU as the Havoc pressure starts to turn up on the Tennessee Vols.
And the Rams, almost 1,200 steals over the last 3 seasons. And there's a reason why Coach Shaka Smart and the Rams have been so successful. Coach, they really know how to get after you. They're long, they're athletic. They don't settle for easy plays. They go after you the hard way.
And, you know, kids think it is fun to play this way, but they think it's easy. You know what kind of condition you have to be in to be able to get after somebody like this for 40 minutes? And what happens is it wears you out mentally. you're Tennessee, you don't have a real decision maker out there, a true point guard, and now every second of this game somebody's coming at you, and you got to make a good decision, and eventually you crack, and what happens? You give up an 8-0 run, you give up a 10-0 run, and that changes the game.
And that's exactly what VCU has done. 8-0 run, all 8 of them from Melvin Johnson, who has 13 points in the game now, and this is Jonathan Williams to complete the three-point play.
You also got to have a deep roster if you're going to play this type of and this brand of basketball.
And that's something you don't see often. Trapping on a missed free throw.
More misses on the response. Graham and the Rams bring it right back. Blocked at the rim by Richardson. Treveon Graham swatted. Hunter attacks.
See, that's not a good shot.
No.
That's what they can't do.
So you get into a up and down, helter-skelter type game, and you're playing right into the hands of VCU.
So it's Williams running the point right now with Jaquan Lewis on the bench with 2. And now Williams gets his second on an offensive foul.
Well, no surprise here. The last 2 plays defensively made by Richardson and Armani Moore. The lone holdovers, really, from that successful Tennessee run last season.
And look how VCU is playing this inbounds. They're trying to force the ball into that right corner there. They know exactly where they want to force it.
Coffin corner, as we called it. Never want to get the ball there.
Only 1 made basket for the Vols in the last 5 minutes.
See if they can get Josh Richardson going a little bit offensively here.
Richardson mid-range. Boarded by Burgess. Williams the post entry to Allie Cox. And now back out to Graham. Vols try and run. There's going to be a foul.
Treveon Graham with the wraparound.
You know, Reggie, I don't know what you think, but and Coach Tyndall knows his team much better than me. I always felt like you take a guy like Josh Richardson, who's your best scorer, and you take him and put him in another position. I think you lose his great play in his position, and you don't get a put somebody else there and let him play the 2 spot. Now that's how me, but he knows his team better. You know what I'm saying?
But this is by default.
Yeah, so there's no question.
This is a brand new roster. Look, he was their shooting guard a season ago, and his numbers reflect. When you look at the tournament, he was arguably their best player, along with Jarnell Stokes. But you know, he's been thrust into this role because it's been a turnover roster, new head coach. Most of the players that Conzo Martin had signed obviously followed him out west to Cal. So he's been put in this position to try to be that senior leader, and it's been difficult. But look, this is only game 1. I think he's going to grow into that situation here. We yet have seen Ian Chiles, the guy from IUPUI, another point guard, who I think is really going to help them out as well to be able to push Richardson to his natural 2 position.
He's dealt with some nagging injuries, so trying to get him healthy in the early going so he can contribute to the backcourt. That's Mostella, the freshman. That's one of those automatic ones, especially early in the year when the officiating bulletin says you can't put 2 hands on a guy and you do it in the backcourt in the first game of the year. That's going to be a whistle every time.
Well, you know what? And these referees, this is their first game. They've done some exhibitions. This is not an easy game to referee for your first game of the season. You know what I mean? You get these 2 teams that like to get after each other, a lot of hands, people reaching in and stuff. Not an easy way to start your year. And this is a Final Four refereeing crew, let's say that too. But not an easy way to start.
That was a point of emphasis a season ago. You know, letting the offensive players being able to freedom of movement and not putting hands. They want the game to flow a little bit better. That's not up these 2 teams' alley. They like to put hands on you and kind of control you defensively.
Hunter nearly turns it over in midcourt. Finds Richardson. Teardrop, spins in. Josh Richardson.
And now here's the 2-2-1 3-quarter court press of Tennessee.
2 hands on the ball carrier. Case in point, exactly what we're talking about. McGee commits a foul. That's, again, freshman mistake.
We got both of these teams 10 minutes of bonus action here. I'll let you know there's a lot of hand checking and quick whistles out here to send both of these teams to the free throw line.
So 1-on-1 coming for Doug Brooks, sophomore from Florida. Reputation as shooter. Didn't shoot it great as a freshman. I'm hoping he's better as a sophomore. Mostella.
Nice
finger roll.
Oh. Way to freeze the defense, too.
They've done a good job of attacking that pressure on those missed free throws that Shaka likes to use.
Larrier through contact from Woodson. Richardson boards. Looking to lead the attack. Josh Richardson.
How about the verticality there by Woodson? Usually you see that at the next level. Roy Hibbert, Valanciunas, pretty good guys that are pretty good at that.
Mostella, that's apparently off of VCU, right in front of the Ram bench. Tennessee keeps it.
You're going to see Dietrich Mostrella here breaking the pressure. He's a freshman, going to be a really good play. That's a nice shot there.
How about him gathering himself right there? That's what really froze the defender.
Treveon Lewis replaces Doug Brooks.
Shaka Smart, amazing to think he's in his 6th season already at VCU. He is 37 years old. Still goes through a lot of the drills with the VCU Rams.
Look at the kind of shape he's in. First of all, this guy has done an unbelievable job. Only 2 other coaches have won as many games as him in his first 5 years of coaching, 137 wins. And the thing about it that I always find that tells you what kind of a coach he is, he's developed his own style. Because really, Billy Donovan, he was an assistant for. He doesn't do this. Oliver Purnell, he doesn't do this either. And Keith Dambrot, he doesn't do this. So this guy developed a style and had the confidence to use it, and it has resulted in unbelievable success.
But, Coach, you've got to have players to buy in.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You've got to have players that are willing not only to listen, but to go out and execute that game plan. And he does an excellent job of recruiting. That's why all these big programs are always trying to come and recruit him away, right? But
he's happy in Richmond.
And to his credit, I like the loyalty that he has shown.
And I'm surprised. I can tell you that. But you know
because
what?
there's a couple big name programs that have been calling that you're like, wait a minute.
Put it this way. I think except for the Kentucky job, when John Calipari got it, I'm going to think Shaka could have gotten any of those other jobs that opened.
Yeah.
Any one of them he could have had, and he didn't take them, and he stayed where he was. But, you know, this is a different day. 20 years ago, you could never get to the Final Four from VCU. Now, obviously, you can. So I think he thinks he can win a national championship at VCU.
They got a brand new practice facility there. They sell out every single game. They were undefeated at home. I mean, this is a place that he's built into his own.
Is it better for college basketball to have Shaka Smart at a VCU rather than chasing another big program?
I like parity.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
Because now, again, things have, the whole world is a different world. When I was at Villanova, you were a mid-major team. You could never get to a Final Four. Guess what? We've seen it happen enough in the last 5 years. So he probably thinks he can win a national title at VCU, and guess what? He probably can.
Wasn't that after Villanova won a championship? I mean, I hate to bring up 85.
Yes, please.
With John Thompson.
That's
3
not
seats
right,
down.
Carter. Not right, Carter.
Now there's an injury on the floor, and this is Jaquan Lewis. We'll take a look at that in a moment. You see what historically Shaka Smart has done. The concern right now for VCU is Jaquan Lewis.
We talked about Shaka and the Rams, one of 3 programs to win 26-plus games, and let's hope this is not something serious here. Whenever I see players on the floor and they're not moving, it's never a good sign.
This is the sophomore from Dixon, Tennessee, Jaquan Lewis, who got the start at point guard tonight.
He might have got knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
And
so silence here.
it's a scary situation here. Now they're talking about possibly having a seizure here. Yeah. He knocked his head. Oh, yeah. Right on the floor.
So with the loose ball rebound, I mean, banged his head hard on the floor. And as the VCU training staff tends to Jaquan Lewis, we step aside. Here at Alumni Hall in Annapolis, Maryland, the game has come to a standstill as Jaquan Lewis, the sophomore point guard for VCU, hit his head hard on the floor, bringing this game to a momentary standstill. And Lewis now back up, eyes open, with the VCU training staff tending to him. We check with Jamie Erdahl.
Well, Carter, Shaka Smart came right over to Jaquan Lewis, cradling his head. He was having a conversation with the coach and the training staff here. They were testing his hand strength just to make sure he could respond on both sides, but really paying a lot of attention right now to his head and neck. But of course, good to see him at least able to have a conversation with these guys.
Showed it to you once. We're not going to show it to you again, but it was Dominique Woodson, the 6'10", 280-pound center for the Tennessee Volunteers, and Lewis going up for a loose ball rebound. Perfectly clean play, but unfortunately for Jaquan Lewis, took a hard spill directly on the floor, so Lewis needs help walking towards the VCU bench.
And guys, you know, what's been in the news lately is all about concussions and head injuries, and I think both of these teams going to err on the side of caution here, taking Lewis to the back.
Now for VCU, Briante Weber not playing tonight. 1-game suspension by the team. Jaquan Lewis now heads to the VCU locker room. That's your backup point guard.
Now you go with the freshman Jonathan Williams, who we just saw the and one when he split the double team. He moves to the front of the depth chart now.
And he has 2 personal fouls right now. So there's Weber, who's on the VCU bench. And by the way, Shaka Smart wanted to let us know, hey, Briante Weber is going to sit tonight, but we have full confidence in Briante Weber's leadership moving forward after this necessary 1-game suspension. Joe Lindsay over to tell us that because Jaquan Lewis can't take the foul shots on the foul by Woodson, that it'll be Tillman to the free throw line, and he gets the front end of the 1-and-1.
And Donnie Tyndall picked him to go shoot those free throws.
And here's the flexibility that Coach Shaka Smart might go with. You talked about the depth in point guard. He may go with a bigger, longer 5 on the floor, which we're seeing right now.
Jordan Burgess can play some point guard.
This is a big lineup for the Rams.
Richardson on the wing, 9 to shoot. Run out screen from Reese for Richardson. 4 to shoot. Trying to create for himself. Dumps it off. Armani Moore finishes off the look from Richardson.
How about the patience by Josh Richardson? Shot clock running down. The 3 gray jerseys around him does a great job of dishing the ball down low.
Over 4 minutes without a basket for VCU. Tennessee's cut it to 6.
I mean, you look at this zone, and everybody's got, this is a matchup zone. Everybody's got a man, yet it's a zone.
Graham 5 to shoot. Kick out. Larrier. Air ball. Foul on the rebound on Derek Reese to bail out VCU. So without Jaquan Lewis for the time being, VCU still leads by 6.
Back inside Alumni Hall here on the campus of the Naval Academy. When we take a look at the new guy in town in Knoxville, Donnie Tyndall hosted a 6K run for veterans, part of his Donnie Tyndall Foundation. He also is instilling a new message with this volunteer team, HAT, humble, appreciative, and thankful. He is a coach that really stresses family, and he also is someone that stresses when his feet is looking fly. He is a self-proclaimed sneakerhead, and I had to ask one of his players what it's like having a coach that owns over 500 pairs of shoes. Well, the team was invited to the Tyndall home. They saw the closet, and Derek Reese actually told me that this closet that holds all these shoes is as big as the UT locker room, if you can believe that. And of course, he's not wearing any now. I mean, if I have that many shoes, I'm going to be coaching in a different pair every game.
A little more formal for the first game as Tennessee Volunteer head coach. Now, unfortunately for Donnie Tyndall, he has also been dealing with the distraction of some NCAA allegations about violations during his time with Southern Miss. Donnie Tyndall says he's not concerned. He's optimistic. Reportedly met with the NCAA this week, but nevertheless, that is hanging over the beginning of his Carrera is the Tennessee Volunteer head coach. Vols trail by 6 here against number 15 VCU.
You see the smile on Jamie's face as she gave us that report, talking about that closet full of shoes and sneakers. That old woman would love to have a closet full of 500 Manolo Blahniks or Christian Louis Vuittons. I can see Jamie's closet looking like that, right?
Oh, definitely.
I'm hoping someone I know didn't see that closet on television as well. Let's go back a couple possessions ago for VCU.
Well, you're going to see here this defense, and look how everybody's matched up. All the Tennessee guys are matched up. That's why it's a matchup zone. Yet, that's why in this situation, VCU has to try to beat this off the dribble. That's the best way to beat a matchup zone defense, is off the dribble. But that's why sometimes you'll see it look 1-3-1, sometimes it'll look 1-2-2. This defense morphs to how the offense is set up, and that's why it's hard to tell what it really is. But everybody has a responsibility to find a man.
Carter Blackburn, Steve Lapis, Reggie Miller, Jamie Erdahl from Annapolis, Maryland. Game 1 of our doubleheader. Michigan State versus Navy follows. It's the Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans from the United States Naval Academy. VCU leads Tennessee by 6. Ball's starting to find a flow, though.
And VCU only 4 of 9 from the free throw line. That's what is allowing Tennessee to kind of hang around here in this first half.
Kevin Punter misses the 3. Long rebound ripped down by Treveon Graham.
That's not a good shot. I was always nuts when I coached about shots.
How about that shot? Melvin Johnson.
Melvin Johnson's on fire. He's got 16 points in his half. I mean, he's done everything for VCU.
This kid has range. Remember, Troy Daniels had this kind of range for Shaka Smart and the Rams. Melvin Johnson is taking it to another level.
Daniels took that to the NCAA. Travel forced in the backcourt, gives it right back.
I mean, this is Steph Curry. I'm sorry, Coach. This is Steph Curry range right here. Just coming down in stride and knocking down the 3.
But you know what? If you're Kevin Punter and you're near this guy, he's got 13 before that shot. You got to be up on him. He's already made 2 bombs.
I love it. It's right after you said you were nuts when you coached about shot selection. Johnson bombs one from the logo.
That went in.
Yeah.
That's a good shot.
That's one of those no good shots, right? Okay.
You know how coaches are, Reggie.
Loose ball on the baseline. Tie up. Possession arrow is going to give it back to Tennessee.
Hey, I used to tell my guys, if you think that's a good shot, that's fine. Guess what? Better go in.
Or they're going to be next to you?
Yeah, if it's something I don't think is right, yes. Now, if it goes in, you don't have to come next to me.
Okay. Fair enough.
Richardson will bring it up again for the Vols, senior from Edmond, Oklahoma. His mom is a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. Dad was Oklahoma City firefighter.
You know, the other thing, Carter and Reggie, that makes this defense so effective, they have so many versatile defenders. They can switch on anything. Sure. They had Jared Guest guarding Richardson there, and he's their big guy. So that's how Shaka recruits. He recruits versatile guys that can guard every position. And now you switch, you end up going, you can do anything you want if you're that versatile.
Fouls on Larrier, and that is now 18 fouls on VCU. So the Rams are in the double bonus. Tennessee's got a 1-and-1 coming. Robert Hubbs, a sophomore from New Bern, Tennessee.
And think about this. The Rams are doing this without really the services of Treveon Graham, who's struggling in this game. 0 of 2 from the field and only 1 point. Shows you the depth of Shaka Smart.
And no Breonte Weber.
And for the time being, no Jaquan Lewis. But they do have Johnson. Behind the screen, 2 more for Johnson. He is now 7 for 8 from the floor while the rest of the Rams struggle.
That's the other place where a matchup zone could get hurt. Screening.
Another steal, another chance for Johnson. Finally misses.
Well, he was too wide open.
Graham attacks. That's going to be wiped out. Offensive foul against VCU. Gives it back to the Vols.
VCU foul. Number 23, Jared Guest.
Guest called for the foul first. As the VCU lead extends back to 9. Chance to make it double digits.
And there's that one-on-one basketball. You can't have that if you're Tennessee against this havoc defense. Ball has to move, at least change sides one time. You got to move the defense once at least.
Ball reversals are key, Reggie, for sure.
Another miss for Graham. Stick back won't go for Ali Cox. Third chance for the Rams. Graham nearly walked. Larrier. Another tough fight for the rebound. Woodson wins it.
Now you're going to see here a situation where the matchup zone doesn't do a good job of playing the screen. You're going to see Mo Ali Cox here throw the ball out. Now look at the green. Stop it right there. There's got to be a switch there on Johnson. He's the best player on the court right now, and you're going to see Tennessee slow to recover. You cannot do that with a guy who's got 16 points. They really were not alert on that particular defensive possession.
And then Mo Ali Cox fouls for VCU. That's now 10 against the Rams. So both teams in the double bonus for the last 4:06 of the first half.
And by the way, Mo Ali Cox, he sets a pretty good screen.
Yes.
I will say that too.
It's 6'6", 255. Williams comes back in. And again, Williams, the freshman who's the option at the point right now because Weber's out for the opener. Suspended. Lewis is out for the time being after banging his head on the floor. So Williams, the freshman, in there to run the point. He's got 2 personals.
Tell you what, if it doesn't work out for Mo Ali Cox in basketball, there's going to be some football teams coming about a tight end at 6'5", 255. You look at Jimmy Graham and Tony Gonzalez. They're built along the same lines of Mo Ali Cox.
Antonio Gates, yeah, and I think Dominique Woodson may have. Now Woodson's trying to get himself back in basketball shape, still listed right around 280.
If he wanted to get bulked up, he'd be a heck of an offensive lineman, probably. He was waiting for that.
Brooks run out.
Made it more difficult than he had to.
Oh, that's never saved the ball there. Never.
Johnson can't finish.
He did it twice.
Until now, back to back.
He did it twice.
He wasn't listening.
Not only did you make the mistake once, but you made it twice.
Yeah, he got away the first time.
That's Breontae Weber telling his teammates, just get on his back. Melvin Johnson.
Here's the steal here by Brooks. Made it more difficult than he had to. So look at the save here. You never save the basketball underneath your own goal. But not only did he once, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Reese did not make a really good play there, I have to say.
And Melvin Johnson was there to finish it up both times. Finally, he finishes for the junior. Now, solid score, 10 points per game, but this is an outburst to begin the year for the junior.
He's been their best shooter, really, for 2 years. He made 8 threes in a game last year, so this guy has always been a lethal shooter. And, you know, Javonte Reddick was there last year. They had some other guys, but this year he looks like in great programs, a good player is always ready to step up when it's time to be the great player the next year.
With Melvin Johnson leading the way, 15th ranked VCU up 13 on the Volunteers of Tennessee. Havoc in Annapolis.
We kind of got to walk in the shoes of a midshipman today. We went to the different places that they work and are taught in the classroom buildings, and you know, we did everything from go out on a ship to be in a Humvee.
It's so very different than a civilian university situation, and I think to a man, all of our guys came away from this morning's tour with an added level of respect.
At the confluence of the Severn River and the Chesapeake Bay, we are on the yard of United States Naval Academy. Special experience for VCU, for Tennessee, and it's very genuine sentiment, not only from the head coaches, but the players we talked to about the respect and proper dignity for the brigade of midshipmen here at the U.S. Naval Academy.
These men and women here on the yard at the Naval Academy and all the service academies are future leaders. These are the guys that protect our freedom.
just a great lesson. And that's what these kids are learning. They're learning lessons. They're in college. This is a great one.
You know, I'm an Air Force brat, so I'm very fortunate I can somewhat understand what some of these kids go through living and growing up on an Air Force base.
And credit these head coaches of the other programs, because there's a lot of different opportunities to open up your season, and the chance to say, all right, we're going to bring our program in the middle of November to the United States Naval Academy, not only for these basketball games, but to get that kind of experience. It truly is.
And people don't understand the demands on these midshipmen every single day. You know, a lot of these guys, as Shaka was talking about at a civilian university, you know, study hall, and then they have practice and so forth. These midshipmen and other kids at other service academies, their days are scripted from 6 in the morning to lights out at 9, sometimes 10. It's very scripted. There's a lot going on every single day, preparing them to be future leaders.
And with all that practice, and going, you know what I mean? And the kids in the regular schools think that, I know kids I had always thought there was a lot going on. Imagine being at one of the service academies and then playing basketball on top of it.
Williams gets 1 of 2. Both of these teams in the double bonus. VCU's done a better job at the line than Tennessee, leading to a 13-point advantage for the Rams. Chance for us to check with Jamie.
Carter, some good news coming out of VCU's locker room. Jaquan Lewis is apparently responding to tests very well, and I had to ask twice, but school officials say that he is questionable to return to this game after this scary moment.
Wow.
It's great news.
That's fantastic news, but the way he was somewhat carted off, I'd be kind of leery to bring him back in this ball game, Carter.
The Jaquan Lewis injury was banging his head on the floor, fighting for a loose ball rebound with Dominique Woodson, so helped off the floor. VCU has a 12-point lead right now, so even if Jaquan Lewis able to come back for VCU, question for Shaka Smart as to whether he would bring him back.
Well, now that you're down to your third-string point guard here in Williams.
And some early run for the freshman from Richmond who went to St. Benedict's Prep in New Jersey, Jonathan Williams. Now another foul down low. That one's on McGee. And 2 more free throws coming with 2:56 to go in the first.
Coach, look at Mo Alley Cox's calves. Are you kidding me? I mean, that is some serious work in the weight room. I mean, this young man is built like a tank.
Had 48 block shots a year ago, 7'2" wingspan.
I'm sure he works hard in the weight room, but he also had something to start with, too. my calves could never look like that. I could be in the weight room from now till doomsday and it never look like that.
Are you kidding me? I wish I had a body like that.
No, the calf raises aren't the same, I don't think, from Mo Alley Cox and Steve Lapis. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
I'm telling you what, I'm walking down the dark alley with Mo Alley. Come on, big fella.
Richardson pull up. He's got the last 4 for the Vols, trying to lead a Tennessee comeback at the end of the first half.
Right now they got to concentrate on getting some stops. They've given up 39. So trying to get VCU to slow down and set up a little bit like this.
Graham picks up his dribble. Armani Moore there on him. Melvin Johnson, 20 already. He hits the deck hard. It's going to be called.
That's Armani Moore's second charge taken here in this first half. Well, what a great defensive effort there by Moore. They say if you're going to be one of those players that take charges, you got to sacrifice your body. That's exactly what Armani Moore did.
Second personal on Melvin Johnson. He has 20 in the first half. His career high is 27.
I mean, there's an example that was totally unforced.
Unforced turnover. I mean, you can't have that against this type of defense. I mean, that's just a silly mistake on Tennessee's part right there. Especially when you're trying to close this gap here and try to get it to single digits before half.
Graham jump stop. Follow dunk goes down for Michael Gilmore, the nephew of Artis Gilmore.
He's not as big as Artis, but pretty good.
McGee. Free throws coming.
Somewhere Artis Gilmore sitting on his couch just fell out when he watched little nephew go up top with the finish.
And I'll tell you what, Reggie, Tennessee has not done a good job playing that pick and roll. And now VCU screening that top guy of the zone a lot and getting into the lane. Melvin Johnson made the 15-footer before. They've got to adjust to playing that pick and roll better.
Tennessee's cold at the line. You get into the double bonus and can't get back into single digits from the free throw line.
Well, you know, one thing you look at with VCU, you know, one of the reasons why you know they're a good team, they're up 13 points, and their best player has not done anything in this game so far. So, you know, we talked about Treveon Graham, and he's 0 for 4 in the game.
So that's good news for VCU.
Yes.
Without Briante Weber tonight, without Treveon Graham making an impact, without your backup point guard, up 12 right now on a team to win the Sweet 16, albeit a very different Tennessee team from a year ago.
Called depth. It's all about depth for the VCU Rams. Josh Richardson a little out of control there against this Havoc pressure.
You know, seeing Havoc here up close, what I'm seeing, Reggie, is it's hard to make good decisions against them for 40 minutes. That's what makes them so tough. They just wear on you, and you can't do the right thing for 40 minutes. Here's that pick on top again.
Into the corner, Jordan Burgess. 9 to shoot. Gilmore picks it up, 5 to shoot. Brooks has to heave it. Buries it with a hand in his face.
That looked good from here too, Coach. We had a bird's eye view of that shot.
And you know, it was a great defensive possession, and then they just burnt them at the end of the shot clock.
And then he gets a steal and one. That's back-to-back Doug Brooks.
Well, he's trying to pull a Melvin Johnson act right here. Brooks with the shot clock running down. The desperation three here, and his prayer answered. But doesn't settle. Not happy. Gets into the press, comes up with the steal. That's the 13th turnover here in this first half for Tennessee. 5 quick points for Brooks, looking for 6.
You know who hasn't done a whole lot in this game statistically? Jared Guest. But on the top of that pressure, number 23 has been tremendous just going out of the game right now. Jared Guest, no stats, but he's been at the top of that press, and he's been wreaking havoc with his length.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
That's 6 straight for Doug Brooks, the sophomore from Florida. Then he commits a foul.
Not a good foul.
That's his second.
Hey, if you score 6 points in 10 seconds, you're allowed a bonehead. You're allowed a bonehead foul here and there.
At the line for Tennessee, Armani Moore.
Moore gets the first of 2.
Tennessee substitution. Tyreek Owens checks into the game.
This is Tyreek Owens, freshman from Odenton, Maryland.
You know, besides the fact that Shaka wins a lot of games, he plays a style that people want to see on top of it. And, you know, so that's another reason why he's so desirable for everybody to want to coach their teams, because not only does he win, but he plays a great style.
And the players swear by it.
And the bottom line is he wins, but the style helps. Good style, no wins, don't count.
You'd say that again. There's another foul reaching out. That's on Brooks, his third. AT&T at the half coming up. Well, Dana Jacobson and Mateen Cleaves are going to be joined here in Annapolis by Tom Izzo. I think he knows Mateen a little bit. And then back in New York, Britt Stover, Doug Gottlieb, Allah Abdul Nabi have highlights and scores from around the country, plus first half highlights and stats from here in Annapolis. It's AT&T at the half coming up. Carter Blackburn, Steve Lapis, Reggie Miller, Jamie Erdahl. Game 1 of our doubleheader, Veterans Classic, presented by Quicken Loans. Game 2, it'll be Navy against 18th ranked Michigan State. Funny moment when Michigan State was entering the gym and VCU was entering the gym at the same time. They were both on the same practice court. Tom Izzo said, hey, come on, Chaka, you're ranked higher than we are. You get the home court, we get the visitor court. Sorted itself all out there. VCU out of the A-10, ranked 15, ahead of Michigan State, who's 18 in the country to begin the year.
But Michigan State has the prime time game. They're their feature game here versus Navy. It's all about the slot.
17-point edge for VCU and a chance at one more. Williams off the screen, blocked. Foul called on Kevin Punter. That is his third. And we will have 2 more free throws at the end of a half, full of them.
Well, here you're going to see VCU and Tennessee a little late once again off that screen. The screening on the top of the zone has been the most effective thing. That's a tough one for Donnie Tyndall to take with 4.9 to go in the half.
But it was a foul.
Yeah.
He did foul him.
So the third on Punter.
Both of these teams have been terrible at the free throw line. Again, it's only game 1. They've only played, I think, 2 exhibition games each, but to be so bad from the free throw line, both of these teams.
Williams gets another chance. Little better. Hand in the bucket. VCU timeout with an 18-point edge. Well, when you score 48 and a half, you're going to have some long-range threes, and VCU has had that here in the first half.
You know, Melvin Johnson has been a great shooter on this team for 2 years, and Burgess is also a very, very good shooter. So they do have 2 long-range guys that can do it. But they've gotten some threes from some people they didn't expect to. But the one thing you would think about Tennessee is they do a better job in defending the three-point shot, and they haven't so far.
Well, Coach, I know we were going against VCU, so I brought my sneakers because I thought I was going to get some threes up. 7 made threes here in this first half. Recognizing Havoc's style, I was feeling kind of good as I was entering Alumni Hall tonight.
You know, if you force turnovers at the rate they do and you make threes in transition too, that's a tough, tough combination.
Last chance for Tennessee, trailing by 18. Richardson turns it over. Gilmore, does it count? No, it doesn't. Not before. So that's the difference between a 20-point game at the half and an 18-point game at the half. This is 15th ranked VCU out of the A-10 without their senior leader, without their backup point guard, and yet they're up 18 at the half on the Tennessee Volunteers. And VCU head coach Shaka Smart with Jamie Erdahl.
Not yet. Coach, first game of the season, first half, your team has to respond to a pretty emotional situation with Jaquan Lewis. What was your reaction to dealing with that?
Well, unfortunately, he went down on a hard fall. We're already 1 point guard down. We're playing Treveon Graham at the point a lot, which is not his natural position, but he's doing a good job filling in. We just got to step up and make the right play.
Havoc seems to be in full effect, but Tennessee looks like they're trying to match it, but your offense has responded well so far.
Well, we were really jittery early on against the press. I think we slowed down and relaxed a little bit. It's the first game of the year, so there's going to be some jitters, but I like the way the guys responded.
All right, Coach, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
An 18-point edge at the break, 48-30 VCU on the Tennessee Volunteers. Coming up after the break, AT&T at the half. You're watching the Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans on CBS Sports Network.
Welcome back for more of AT&T at the half. Brent Stover, Ala Abdelnaby, Doug Gottlieb as well. 48-30 at the break. VCU Leading Tennessee opening night, what have you seen so far?
Well, first, your heart goes out to Jaquan Lewis, who hit his head and looked like a really scary moment. Thankfully, he's questionable for the remainder of the game. VCU also playing without Breonte Weber. There's an old coaching adage that says you always press a pressing team. And Donnie Tyndall did that, and they had some success with it early before they kind of fell apart. For VCU, playing without a couple of their starting guards, it's going to be a big challenge for them to continue the flow offensively.
How about Melvin Johnson, 20 points on 8 of 10, 4 of 6 on 3.
Amazing.
So quick thought, you got a big target on your
absolutely. Again, here's the thing. Second half here, I'm looking to see whether or not VCU can be aggressive moving forward. They've done a great job of beating the press.
All right, so 34-28, UConn's down. VCU's up by 18. Second half from Annapolis after the break.
CBS Sports presents AT&T at the half. AT&T. Rethink possible.
Game 1 Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans here at the United States Naval Academy. An 18-point edge for VCU out of the A-10 on Tennessee. Carter Blackburn, Steve Lapis, Reggie Miller, Jamie Erdahl on the sideline. Well, when you're Tennessee and you turn it over like they did in the first half, Reggie, you're going to get an 18-point VCU lead.
Last season, VCU turned teams over 18 times a game. In this first half, they've turned Tennessee over 14. It could be a long second half for Tennessee.
You know, this is not an easy way to start your coaching career at Tennessee. But Donnie Tyndall, you're down guys, you have a new team, and you're playing against this havoc. They are everywhere, and they make you make bad decisions constantly.
As we look at the first half stats, no surprise that they favor the team who was up by 18 at the break, the VCU ran.
Well, you look at the three-point shooting by VCU. The fact they averaged last year 20 points off turnovers for a game. They have 22 points off turnovers in the first half. So for Tennessee, they've got to make better decisions. Know when to attack, know when not to.
AT&T Fast Analysis. Treveon Graham is the guy who was supposed to lead the way for VCU. Instead, Melvin Johnson.
Well, we thought he was going to be that nightmare matchup, Treveon Graham, but no points, 0 of 6 from the field. But am I my brother's keeper? Melvin Johnson on fire in that first half. 8 for 10 field goals, but how about this? 4 of 6 from downtown.
Jamie spoke a moment ago with Tennessee head coach Donnie Tyndall.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys eavesdropped on that conversation because he said the Havoc sped up that volunteer team too much. Even when they were able to break the pressure, they were taking shots too early in their possession to establish any kind of consistency. He said, I told the team, down 18, you can't feel sorry for yourselves or else VCU is going to beat you by 100.
That's a possibility because it's 18 right now, and if Tennessee can't handle the basketball better against that pressure. And a reminder for VCU, their starting point guard, Breonte Weber, 1-game suspension. Jaquan Lewis left the game after banging his head on the floor in the first half. So this has been an 18-point edge for VCU without those two players and without much offensively from Treveon Graham.
And here's the press now where they don't have a guy on the ball out of bounds. So they kind of play it two ways. One time they'll have a guy on the ball. The next time they'll back it up about 4 or 5 steps.
Tennessee breaks it this time down. Armani Moore to Reese. Couldn't handle it. 32 fouls in the first half, guys.
That's great transition defense there by Shaka Smart and the Rams. Tennessee had numbers once they broke the press. 5 guys in grays got back to the paint and built out.
3 seconds to shoot. Richardson doesn't see the shot clock, bangs it in anyway. That was close to a violation. No horn. Richardson finishes.
You know, Reggie, we've talked about the great depth of VCU, but they're in tremendous shape. They are really in good shape. To be able to play this pace for 40 minutes is not easy to do.
Well, doesn't Shaka Smart do some of that since we're here at Navy, that Navy training, Navy SEALs training to get these guys in tip-top shape?
And they practice it every day. It is an intense, quick-paced practice on a daily basis. And there's Treveon Graham knocking down the 3.
His first field goal of this game.
More tip from behind. Tennessee keeps it. Jaquan Lewis is back on the VCU bench. The report from Jamie was that he was questionable to return. You would think with VCU in command of this basketball game. And Lewis sitting at the end of the bench right now. That the sophomore unlikely to return. But good to see that he is back on the bench during this second half after taking the tough tumble. Another foul called on Jonathan Williams. That's number 3 on him.
Number 10, Jonathan Williams. His third, team first.
Also on the VCU bench, Briante Weber suspended for this game, violation of team rules for incident in July. So again, he'll be back for VCU next game when they take on Toledo, back for the Legends Classic in Brooklyn when they take on Villanova, potentially Michigan or Oregon as well.
I mean, they're playing without their best havoc defender, and they're doing this.
And their backup point guard, as we just mentioned, Jaquan Lewis on the bench. Williams just picked up his third as Mo Alley says no Mo at the rim.
And then Richardson repays the favor on the other end.
I'm loving Mo Alley Cox. That's stock you can buy right there. He's going to protect the paint now.
Graham, that was touched by Armani Moore. VCU keeps it. This is the second block.
Well, this time you're going to see Josh Richardson really go up and get this.
That's a block with his left hand, too.
Graham running the point right now, as Shaka Smart told Jamie. Out of position, running the point. Misses the 3, Richardson boards. We talked about Richardson playing the point, a natural 2, and then because of the problems at the point for VCU, Treveon Graham's had to play more point tonight, so out of his natural position.
Yeah, look at the big lineup on the floor here for VCU.
That's a push-off against Hubs, VCU ball.
That was an easy one. Even Hubs didn't complain about it. When you see a kid not complain about a foul called against him, you know it's an easy one.
Let's see, we've had 34 fouls called in this game, and I think all 34 of those fouls have been legit. I mean,
you know what, Carter? We said before the game, I was talking to Tony Green and Joe Lindsay and Jamie Luck. I said, you know what? This is a tough way for you guys to start the season because there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on, and they sure have had their whistles working.
Reverse it for VCU, now back to Brooks, and he turns it over. So the lack of a true point out there for VCU starting to show up. Punter in the paint. Mostella buries the 3.
Finally. They're able to get dribble drive penetration and collapse this Havoc defense to get an uncontested 3.
Just the second made 3 of the game for the Vols.
Ooh.
Answer from Melvin Johnson. First points. Correction, Larrier has the bucket.
I love the freshmen of VCU too, by the way. Larrier, Gilmore, Tillman, those 3 kids.
And Shaka loves Larrier, his length and his ability. He's a lot. Here's the steal by Larrier. Just knocked down the shot here. And we've seen this a lot tonight from Brooks, from Johnson. As soon as they score, they get into that press. Opportunities to score again.
They got a lot of good young players on this team.
Talked to an NBA scout this week, and as you would expect, when Terry Larrier's 6'8" athleticism and a mid-range jump shot, already drawing some looks.
Melvin Johnson.
And they like the style of play of Shaka Smart. It's a lot like at the next level, guys going up and down, being able to guard multiple defenders. You just don't have to be able to guard 2s and 3s. If you can guard point guards and power forwards, helps your stock rise.
And that's
Larrier, another steal.
That's how he recruits.
We're looking at possible 30 turnovers for Tennessee in this game, guys. 30.
Without Weber.
And you know, this is where all that length comes in. I mean, look, it's arms and legs everywhere. Very hard to play against. You know, I'll say it again. Shaka Smart has only been a head coach for 5 years. This guy has such good command over what he wants to do in every way. In his practices, in his recruiting. He recruits exactly what he needs. He is wise beyond his years. And I'm not saying he's young. 5 years only been doing this, but boy, this guy knows exactly what he's doing.
Went to Kenyon College, which notably produced President Rutherford B. Hayes, a proud academic tradition at Kenyon College there. Steve, you mentioned some of the guys he worked for, including Billy Donovan, but at 37 years old, already be the winningest coach at VCU with a Final Four under his belt. Remember, he took over for Anthony Grant, who did a great job building VCU, then went to Alabama.
And how about you work for Billy Donovan, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and you really play a lot different than he played. A lot of guys will play just like their mentor, especially a successful mentor like that, and he's doing his own thing.
Again, one of 3 programs to win 26-plus games the last 5 seasons. Only Duke and Syracuse have claim to that.
That's pretty good company.
That is.
Richardson attacks, kick out. Tennessee has only 2 made threes, and VCU in command. An 18-point edge for 15th-ranked VCU. College football tomorrow on CBS Sports Network begins 12 o'clock Eastern Time. It is Army at Western Kentucky. And then Ken Niumatalolo's Navy midshipmen needing to win a couple games down the stretch to make it to a bowl. They take on Georgia Southern here in Annapolis, 3:30 Eastern Time. Wrap it up with USF at SMU, 8 Eastern, presented by Geico. This is last week, a special moment around the Tennessee program. Will McCamey, who passed away March 25 while taking part in a spring practice as a freshman running back on the Navy football team. McCamey's family attended Tennessee's practice. His father, Randy, addressed the team. And so when the Vols took the court here tonight in Annapolis, all with I Will McCamey 41. And it has become a special bond between Tennessee and the United States Naval Academy with Knoxville native Will McCamey and a rallying cry. And I know that the McCamey family has very much appreciated the honor that Tennessee has showed Will McCamey's memory. This is game 1 of our Veterans Classic, presented by Quicken Loans. VCU in command against Tennessee coming up next. It's the 18th ranked Michigan State Spartans. Heard from Tom Izzo at the half with Mateen and Dana, and we'll see the Spartans versus the host Navy midshipmen coming up next. Carter Blackburn, Steve Lapis, Reggie Miller, Jamie Erdahl. Where VCU out of the A-10 in command against the Tennessee Volunteers.
Nice move down low. Nice patience by the big fella, Dominique Woodson. Not panicking with the shot clock running down. Good job by Tennessee in getting the ball to its big man.
Graham has to bring it up, turns it over. Run out chance for the Vols. Hobbs dunks it down. That's Robert Hubbs III. Robert Hubbs III, the sophomore, off the Tennessee steal. A dunk.
Well, the back tip from behind, they play aggressive too. Tennessee coming from behind and taking it all the way to the hole. They need a few more of those. VCU turning it over a little bit too much.
The United States Coast Guard has over 43,000 personnel active duty, 8,000 in the reserve.
Game 2 of the Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans from Annapolis at 9-ish on CBS Sports Network. 18th ranked Michigan State against the Navy midshipmen. Another season with expectations for Michigan State. Now they lose a lot, including a couple of NBA players, but when you've been to 17 straight NCAA tournaments, that is the expectation at the least for Michigan State basketball.
Well, you can book number 18. Tom Izzo will have his team ready come March. Yeah, they lost Adrian Payne, Keith Appling, Gary Harris, but I think Brandon Dawson has a chance to be special in the Big Ten.
And you know, I'm a big fan of Denzel Valentine, who's a guy who already has a triple-double in one of the exhibition games. This guy was in the top 15 assists and rebounding in the Big Ten. He can do a whole lot for you. So they have a very, very good team.
Part of a strong tradition early in the season, not only of playing a difficult non-conference schedule for Michigan State, but also making the trips to the military-inspired basketball tournaments, including the game on the Carl Vinson a couple years ago. They went to Germany. Next year, Michigan State's going to play at Pearl Harbor at the beginning of the season.
An Armed Forces Classic. I am loving the activity here in the second half by the freshman, Terry Larrier. I think his activity on the defensive end at the top of that havoc pressure zone has led to some easy opportunities for him.
And they're Larrier and Gilmore are very versatile. I mean, these guys they can shoot threes. They're perimeter guys. They're not at 6'8". They're not big guys. They're like versatile players that can play all over the floor.
So VCU, number 15 in the country, they're picked to win the Atlantic 10 this year. Final Four 2011. How good can this VCU team be this year?
I think they could win, and we're seeing them without one of their best players.
Well, here's the thing. They're hard to prepare for because you don't know, you don't practice this. That's a battier right there.
That was a ping pong ball.
They're hard to prepare for because of their length and because of this havoc defense.
There's a reach around foul on Mostella, his second.
So come March, when tournament time, and there's not a lot of practice time, that's why teams in the A10 fare better against VCU because they have time to prepare for them and they see them twice. When you're playing them in the tournament and you're playing a Thursday, Saturday, or a Friday, Sunday, and if they're fortunate to win that first game, there's not a lot of turnaround time to prepare for this type of pressure.
And you know what, Reggie? In a lot of ways, you can prepare all you want, but it's different when you get out here, as you know, that, like I said, we would throw 7 against 5, and it's still not the same because you have to make decisions, and that's hard. It's hard to practice decision-making for 40 minutes against this kind of pressure. It's just hard to do.
That's a blocking foul called underneath on Armani Moore, trying to draw the charge, his third.
Think about it. How do you practice making good decisions? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you just hope you have guys that make good decisions because guess what? When you get ready to play them, you all of a sudden aren't going to make good decision makers out of your guys.
And also for VCU, this team, they're out to a 16-point lead, have a chance to stretch it to 18. They'll let you back in, too, because of that style. If you can knock down threes and you can turn them over, they have 14 turnovers tonight themselves. We've been talking about Tennessee and their 16 turnovers. Shaka Smart and his team, I know it's the first real game, but they have 14 turnovers as well. They'll allow you back in a ball game.
And, Shaka's going to be able to look at this tape, and we don't know what's going to happen. There's a long way to go here. And, find a lot of things he doesn't like.
But the Rams are still getting theirs.
Well, I love the style because it takes special players and a special roster to believe in it. And all these guys, they go 10, 11, 12 deep. And Shaka's not scared to go with a small lineup. And for the most part in this game, he's been going with a big, long lineup, which has led to a lot of these steals.
Reese cutting. There's a foul on the floor before the shot by Reese. Called by Joe Lindsay. And that is on Michael Gilmore. That's back-to-back fouls on Michael Gilmore. He has 2. The 6'9" freshman from Florida.
Checking in for VCU.
Showed VCU as favorites in the Atlantic 10 this year. The A10 last year, 6 teams to the NCAA tournament. Dayton to the Elite 8. 4 teams were ranked during the regular season. It was a terrific year for Atlantic 10 basketball. And VCU expected to be atop the league again this year.
Yeah, you got George Washington who will probably compete with them. Dayton, you mentioned them. Margie Miller did a great job. They had a fantastic run. They lost a lot, but they got a couple guys coming back. Jordan Seabird, Dyshawn Pierre, Scoochie Smith.
Johnson, his third, team fifth.
And Mike Larnigan really has done a terrific job at rebuilding GW. To be in contention with these guys.
Melvin Johnson.
They were 14-1 at home. A very difficult place to play for themselves.
Yes.
I'm talking about VCU and that undefeated home court.
There's Armani Moore.
Well, Tennessee is showing a little life here. I like the activity. They're starting to spread out the Rams a little bit.
Well, you're going to see right here, as soon as the guy dribbles at his offensive player, he back cuts, and there's no help from the weak side, and they're able to get an easy basket there.
Doug Brooks for Jonathan Williams.
There's Tom Izzo getting a lengthy discussion in with John Feinstein before his team gets to take the floor.
Is John here writing another book?
Yeah, that's right. getting something from Coach Izzo right now. Richardson misses the three. Really was enjoyable getting time both at practice and with the reception at the superintendent's house with these 4 head coaches, including Tom Izzo. It's complimentary of how good you look, Steve, with the stress of coaching off your shoulders for the time being.
Well, you're relaxed now until your younger son takes his first game at Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah.
And your stress is getting ready to come back.
Well, they're playing right now. Actually, they were up at halftime against St. Joe's.
Oh, is that where you were? Checking your phone.
Checking my phone.
All of a sudden, the Lapis family solidly behind Fairleigh Dickinson.
I guess it's the family business, so to speak.
Nothing wrong with that, Coach.
No, he's excited to be with Greg Horrenda, and it'll be an interesting season for them.
Well, foul problems now for VCU. We mentioned the number of fouls in the game. They're kind of all over the place, but Jonathan Williams has 4. Williams has been forced into the primary point role because of the suspension to Briante Weber for this game, and then the injury to Jaquan Lewis. Now Williams with 4 personal fouls. There's Weber on the bench. In street clothes, Lewis at the end of the bench after taking the...
That was a hard hit to the floor.
Yeah, he looks like he needs to stay on the bench. Yeah,
little woozy. And I'm sure they'll do some concussion tests once they get back to campus.
Another steal by Richardson, trying to get the Vols back in it. He takes a tumble. Vols keep it.
Boy, they can find a way to get a 3 here to cut this deficit down to 10. And the momentum may have shifted.
Almost 5 minutes without a bucket for VCU. Chance.
Look at the bench. The bench is up. They're more active. They're more engaged. The guys on the floor high-fiving one another. Another turnover here for VCU. It's been a turnover fest both ways, but the second half much more aggressive here has been Tennessee.
You're seeing 2 teams with limited point guard play right now, leading to those turnovers. Tennessee, that's going to be a season-long issue for the Vols. VCU mentioned a couple of times because of the lack of depth at the point right now. McGee misses them both.
Those are the ones when you're down 13,
Need
you got to knock those out.
Need them. Got to have them.
Larrier, there's a hand check foul. There's another one on Jabari McGee. So the second half foul count right now is 14. That's 46 in the game total. 18 fouls on VCU in the second half, 6 on Tennessee. Larrier bumped off the window. Brooks runs it down. Fresh shot clock, although that does not matter. Treveon Graham.
That's what Treveon Graham does. You know, he's a good three-point shooter, not great. That's what he does best.
Reese gets a dunk off a nice look from Kevin Punter.
Tennessee giving VCU a taste of their own medicine. Once they break the press, being able to take you off the dribble and get into the paint.
Down to the baseline, Burgess reverse for Jordan Burgess. Vols break the pressure. Hunter and Richardson in the backcourt.
VCU tries to deny every pass in their man-to-man defense. They dare you to back cut.
Richardson floater off the look from Kevin Punter.
That's how you slice and get into the teeth of the defense. Richardson, I think he's resorting back to a shooting guard mentality. But VCU has been active at the offensive end all game. Treveon Graham, the freight train with the teardrop, and Burgess. Nice finish around the basket. VCU up 13.
second half. When you experience the Naval Academy, you realize how much influence that lifestyle can have on basketball programs, and Shaka Smart's VCU Rams no exception. For the 4th year in a row this September, he put his team, and I mean team, I mean players, managers, grad assistant, even the sports information director through Hell Week, the Navy SEAL Week of Team Training. They focus on communication, leadership, teamwork, 5 a.m. wake-up calls for this program, and you can see how all of that has to apply to wreaking havoc on every opponent that they face.
I didn't know that Scott Day, the sports information director, went through that. That's next level right there, getting your program tuned up. 24 points off of turnovers for the Rams tonight against Tennessee.
Carter, that's real havoc right there. That training right there. Wow.
I couldn't work for Shaka.
Yeah, I might have to pass on that too, Coach.
That's a little tougher than 20 on the treadmill.
He better keep a young staff. He won't be hiring one of these ex-head coaches to be his assistant.
No. Well, Tennessee doing its best to try and stick around. They've done it with defense here in the second half. Only 4 made field goals by VCU in the second half.
Hey, Carter, they play hard. They've got 16 points off turnovers, too. So Donnie Tyndall's style, you know what I mean? This is how he's going to play. Just, I don't know if he has quite enough. We'll see. But this is their style, and they're doing what they want to do.
So we talked about where you see, VCU is the number 15 team in the country right now. Tennessee picked 13th in the SEC. What are the chances that Tennessee does bond around this style for Donnie Tyndall and contends?
I think I don't know. They're not going to contend because Kentucky and Florida are way better. But you know what? These other teams, I'm not telling you that they can beat Georgia, they can beat Auburn, but they can certainly Alabama. These are all
Arkansas is going to be much
Arkansas is going to be good. They're probably third in the league. But after that, I think it's as wide open as could possibly be.
Well, it's all going to come down to home court advantage.
Got to win your home game.
Got to win at home or be competitive at home. I think this team will struggle on the road in the SEC, but we know how great that place is to play in Tennessee. If they can kind of get some life there, win some ball games, challenge. You talk about Kentucky and Florida and Arkansas, Alabama. It'll be interesting. This team will be much better at the end of the year than it will be in the beginning. I think the first 10 games they'll probably struggle because they're trying to find their identity. Once they do that and they understand and they get the rhythm and how Coach Tyndale wants to play, this team will be much better.
Another run-out chance off the missed 3 from Johnson. Punter to a trailing Richardson. Can't finish. Fight for the rebound, won by the Vols. Second chance.
They can go to single digits here. This is a big possession.
Wiped out, offensive foul on Dominique Woodson.
And that's the mark of a young team. This is twice that Tennessee has had a chance to cut this to 10 or single digits. 2 missed free throws, and then right here an offensive foul there by Dominique Woodson.
That's also a point of emphasis this year, trying to clean up physicality in the post.
They're coming after him.
Burgess nearly turns it over again. Loose ball on the floor. All out scrum for the loose ball.
There's no way Larrier wins that. If you're Tennessee, you've got to win those 50-50 balls, and you've had 3 orange jerseys around Larrier. You've got to come up with that basketball. Oh, they're calling a foul.
In fact, it is. One official had a tie-up. Tony Green has a foul.
Wow. I'm a little shocked at that. Because when the ball is a scrum like this, Coach, you should be able to do whatever you want. I mean, the ball's loose. There's no trip there. Everyone's going for the basketball.
Who'd they call a foul on? Reese?
It's on Reese.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
No, that's hustle. And you tell guys, get on the floor. I want to see some strawberries. I want to see some blood coming from those knees.
I don't know about doing anything you want, right? Anything you want?
You should be able to do whatever you want in a scrum, Coach. We're here on the yard, okay? We just saw that package of Shaka and Navy SEAL training. You should be able to do whatever you want in a scrum.
A lot can go on down there that nobody sees, you know.
Then a foul on VCU coming back the other way. That's on Larrier, and now Richardson. Here we are again at the end of all of that. A chance to get it back to single digits. And now Richardson makes it a 10-point game with one more.
And a lot of time left.
Just their defense, they're scoring off turnovers, and Donnie Tyndall's style is starting to show its face here. And they're, taking advantage of the fact that VCU, point guard-wise, is a little down.
I'll be curious if Tennessee can get this down to a single possession, to see how Shaka and these Rams will react, especially without the point guards.
It was 32-23. Last time it was a single-digit game. Larrier makes it double digits again.
That rookie has been huge off the bench. I say rookie like he's at the next level. Freshman. That freshman has been huge.
And he really plays with no fear. I mean, he's taken 11 shots in this game, his first game of his career.
Offensive foul. Melvin Johnson draws the charge on Josh Richardson. Fourth on Richardson.
Here's another opportunity here, and Josh Richardson makes a bad decision. He's being hounded. He sticks his arm out, and pretty easy call.
You think?
I think. You didn't think it was a charge? Well, obviously you didn't.
He went to the Reggie Miller School of Acting, and I loved it. Now, I'm going to give him a lot of credit on that.
That's huge for Tennessee. You get it to 9, back to double digits, and now Richardson has to sit at the 8:59 mark with his fourth.
Yeah, you know what? Best player off the floor here. Where do you find points in leadership with this unit on the floor for Tennessee?
I think he leaves him out only till the 8-minute timeout, and then he brings him back. I think he has to.
Johnson misses the 3. Graham there for the stick-back rebound. The VCU lead back to 2 touchdowns.
Josh Richardson has to play with 4 fouls.
Another foul on Larrier. No, Richardson's also holding his knee. This is the foul that sent Richardson to the bench in a moment with his 4 personals. But you see, he's got his. Well,
that's different if he's hurt.
Kevin Hunter at the line for Tennessee, shooting 2.
Well, this is a good chance for Coach Donnie Tyndall. You get a chance to score if you can make some free throws with no time coming off the clock, and you get to set your defense.
Yeah, I mean,
Tennessee's under 50% from the line tonight.
It's not good.
VCU has not handled their pressure well at all. They have 16 turnovers in this game. And here's that. This is man-to-man pressure here. A little run and jump.
Yeah. Graham misses. Vols run. This is punter. McGee off the shot fake, blocked by Mo Alley Cox. Finishes up.
There was a lot of energy there by McGee.
Here's the thing about Tennessee as well. When you're trying to make a comeback like here, you need outside shooting. They don't have a lot of three-point shooting, but they do have that. They keep turning the Rams over here. There we go. That's what you need. You need three-point shooters.
Mostella, that's just the 3rd made 3 of the game for the Vols.
And this is the closest that Tennessee has been since it was 32-23.
6 straight for the Vols.
Oh, you're going to see here this trap. You're going to see Burgess bring the ball. Stop it right there. That is the worst place. Only place worse to stop your dribble is there. You give up your dribble. Now they're denying everybody. You can't make a pass. The worst thing you can do. And now everybody steps up from Tennessee, and they're able to steal the ball.
And not only did he go to Coffin's corner, he turned his back on the defense. You never want to turn your back when pressure is in front of you.
And that's an example of a guy who's not comfortable handling the ball in that situation.
For an update on Josh Richardson, here's Jamie Erdahl.
Well, we saw him paying attention to that left knee. He's still walking around behind the bench trying to get more comfortable. He wanted to celebrate that last jumper from the corner, but he really is catering to it. As you can see, bending on that left knee right now, just trying to get himself back in this game.
Went knee to knee. Looked like he went knee to knee.
And the good news for Tennessee is without Josh Richardson, they've still gone on the 6-0 run to make it an 8-point game. Nearly got another steal with the Rams depleted at point guard themselves. Tennessee trying to turn up the pressure.
See if Melvin Johnson can kind of get going. He's been quiet here in this second half.
Burgess reach in, going to be called on Mostella. So Tennessee with Josh Richardson on the bench trying to make it a game after all against VCU. At the half, we were halfway through a VCU blowout. The Rams up 18 on Tennessee, but the Vols have outscored VCU 29-19 in the second half to make it a game after all, 8 points.
Well, really giving the Rams a taste of their own medicine with that pressure, back taps right here, and some timely shots. Here's a big three to cut the deficit to 8. And the energy is back not only on the bench, but on the floor here for Tennessee.
Well, Donnie Tyndall has to be really happy with the effort that his kids showed because they could have easily gone south there for a while. And for their first game, I think they're giving a tremendous effort. And they're doing the things that Donnie Tyndall wants to see, forcing a lot of turnovers and getting steals themselves.
In the game, we have 35 turnovers combined. 53 personal fouls. Sometime before midnight, we're going to have Michigan State and Navy playing. But for now, a ball game between Tennessee and Navy. You saw Josh Richardson, Tennessee's leading scorer, coming back from last year. And starting point guard on the bench. So Mostella bringing it up right now for the Vols against the pressure VCU defense with Kevin Punter, the junior college transfer, in the backcourt as well. Mostella misses, tap out, Rams on the run. Burgess.
Nice, unselfish play there by Johnson. Got the ball to Burgess. You made sure that lone defender guarded you at the last minute. You give up the basketball for the easy deuce.
Melvin Johnson still hasn't scored in the second half after 20 in the first, but he gets the assist there. Mostella answers with a three.
That's back-to-back threes for Mostella. Keeping Tennessee within striking distance.
I'll tell you, that freshman came to play. He's not bad himself, Mostella.
Jonathan Williams bringing it up for VCU. He's the third option to point. Freshman from Richmond, has 4 personal fouls, but on the floor to try and steady the Rams offense.
They've been a lot better when he's back in the game.
9 to shoot. Williams
Good
creates. Pass. Johnson another. Burgess dunk counted and one. Jordan Burgess.
Wow. Now, people, we're used to seeing another Jordan with aerial acts like this, but Jordan Burgess with the follow tip dunk. Thank you very much, my friend.
That was some serious strength there because he gets fouled pretty good and he's still able to gather it and throw it down. Whoa.
Above the rim, Mr. Burgess.
Come fly with me.
That was big time.
His brother Bradford was great in that 2011. You think Briante Weber's enjoying it?
Woo! Nothing kids like more than to see somebody on their team dunk on somebody on the other team. Number one.
And also, too, we talked about Treveon Graham, the struggles. You know, he was our featured player coming in, was 0 of 6 at halftime, only 4 points. Now has a double-double. Great players step up. They find ways not only to make sure they look good, but to contribute to their team.
Good sign for Tennessee. Richardson on the floor to the hoop. Back to an 8-point game. Still 5:26 to go in this game.
Need stops, though.
Johnson gives it up. Back out to Williams to reset.
Williams has been a real steadying influence when he's in the game. You can see it.
Johnson attacks. Floater. Still scoreless in the second half. Allie Cox fouled on the stick back. That's Woodson with another hard foul, this time on Allie Cox.
Wild shot by Johnson. If you're Tennessee, these are the rebounds you have to have.
You got to get it. You're down 8. They take a bad shot. You must get that rebound.
And Mo Allie Cox just hurt the floor on that fall. He didn't hurt himself. The floor got hurt.
Now, it's also easy to say they got to get that rebound, but that's not an easy guy to get out of there.
Gonna have to replace some boards before the second game here at Alumni Hall. That's a case just 3 points in the game. That is no indication of the way Mo Allie Cox has impacted this game.
You know what else he does? You know how many times in this game he has really helped out when somebody sees what's going on and he's back there helping. He's only a sophomore.
And it's not all about him getting the block shots. It's about sometimes changing shots. That's just as good. That's the old Bill Russell move. Changing a lot of shots and making you think every time you drive that paint area.
Timeout. Donnie Tyndall wants to talk it over. 10-point game, 4:52. So VCU up 18 at the half. They're getting a test from Tennessee now. 10-point game right now. Monday night, 8 Eastern. Don't miss a breakdown of some of the fiercest athletes in sports. The Everything Bracket. Most intimidating athlete right here on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
Coach, who would be one of your most intimidating athletes of all time?
Wow, that played for me?
No, not all that played against. No, I'm talking about in all of sports. Oh, we know you had so many intimidating athletes.
I really didn't have that many. I had good players. I'm going to think, how about Lawrence Taylor?
Oh, yes, very good call.
About Charles Oakley.
Very nice. Tyson?
Yeah.
Bad.
I think that's a good nomination. It's a good nomination.
We're on our test?
Yes.
Patrick Ewing in college.
Mo Allie Cox.
Like to say he's the baddest man in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Woodson with a volleyball lob to the rim. Out of the timeout. Not what the Vols were looking for.
When you call a timeout like that, if you're Tennessee, you got to be able to convert at the offensive end.
Brooks three.
They've got so many guys that contribute. It's like,
how do you game plan?
It's hard.
You can't game plan for these guys.
All right, you stop Treveon Graham, and they got 9 other
Johnson
guys.
goes crazy, and then in the second half, Larrier and Burgess and all these guys are just so talented.
Wipe it off. Yep, that's an offensive foul, and Richardson's fouled out of the game. 3:50 to go. Richardson has to sit. A big blow to the Tennessee comeback effort, down 13.
Quicken Loans Veterans Classic at the U.S. Naval Academy is being brought to you by Quicken Loans for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by AT&T. Mobilizing your world.
15th ranked VCU had an 18-point edge at the break. 13-point lead right now on the Tennessee Volunteers. Let's recap with the AT&T game summary. You see a host of turnovers and points off turnovers on both sides. Fouls mounting. The biggest one, number 5, on Josh Richardson for Tennessee.
Well, forcing steals a big part of both these coaches' game plans, so they've both been effective at doing that. Neither one's going to be happy with the way they've handled the ball, but Donnie Tyndall's team deserves a lot of credit hanging in there and doing what they're trying, doing what he wants them to do.
Well, who's going to step up for Tennessee? The freshman, Mostella, has hit some big threes here to kind of get the Tennessee Volunteers back in the ball game, but offense is going to be at a premium with just under 4 left here in this second half.
So Tennessee will try to create some more points off turnovers. Down by 13. Long rebound won by the Rams. Second chance.
Yeah, those are the kind of balls that you have to track down.
Williams fouled on the floor. That's on Mostella, his fourth. Both teams well into the double bonus.
Like this young player, Dietrich Mostella. I think Donnie Tyndall is going to have a nice job in kind of molding this young man into the type of player that Tennessee Volunteer fans are going to love to root for. Can knock down shots, plays tough, he's aggressive, has good size.
Been all over the basketball map from Alabama, where he grew up, Decatur, Alabama, to Indiana for prep school, Massachusetts, and now one of the program record 8 new scholarship players for the Vols.
Here's that press again after a missed free throw, and it forces a turnover there. They get it right back.
So no Josh Richardson to run the point. Now you have Armani Moore, who's 6'5", more of a three-man.
Number 10, Jonathan Williams.
Jonathan Williams has just fouled out for VCU. So Richardson's out for Tennessee. Jonathan Williams, the freshman point guard who carried a load tonight for VCU, has just picked up his 5th. There are 4 more Volunteers who have 4 fouls. So 3:03 to go, and we're likely going to have a few more foul outs.
You know, when you think of it, that the best teams in the country that foul the least are usually around 15 fouls a game, and we have both these teams doubling that total.
Well, it's good to know that we're having Midnight Madness in here tonight between our second game and Michigan State and Navy.
That's right. I wonder if Tom Izzo is going to dress up like Gene Simmons from Kiss again for Midnight Madness like he did in East Lansing. Get the Kiss makeup on ready for game number 2 between Michigan State and Navy. Mostella has his second. Gets them both. Still a chance for the Vols. 3:03, 11-point game. That's all VCU. Tennessee ball. Chance to get it to single digits, under 3.
And now the fact is, no point guard left for VCU, and that was strictly, that's what happened there.
And this is
a big lineup for Shaka Smart and the Rams.
This is attrition right now at the point guard. Tennessee didn't have many options coming in. Richardson's out. VCU without Weber, Lewis since the first half, and now Williams.
He tried to get Mostella off a double screen for a 3. Armani not comfortable handling the basketball, couldn't find him.
Donnie Tyndall gets a timeout called. I think there's going to be some nervous moments for both of these head coaches in the last 2:35 without point guards. Well, a big announcement from Dan Gavitt before we got this one going here at the Veterans Classic at the United States Naval Academy about some future Final Four sites. 2017 University of Phoenix Stadium, San Antonio. Steve, I know this is one of the coaches love the trips to San Antonio. A return trip to the Alamo Dome in 2018.
The River Walk is one of my favorite, and the weather is terrific. I think great locations. We've never done Phoenix. Minneapolis, we went in 2001. Nice place for it. It's kind of packed in. Everything's together. Atlanta, great place. In Indianapolis, one of the all-time favorites because everything is right next to each other. That's what you like.
Now, you know I'm always going to be a homer. It's always good to come home to Indiana. That's the birthplace of basketball, people. You've got to have games in Indiana.
And that's where we're going this year. Final Four's in Indianapolis this year, so, you know, it's always a great place to go.
What are you looking for a Final Four side? I mean, you mentioned, I mean, the warm weather's nice, but
I think when everything is in good proximity to, you know, wherever the stadium is near where all the hotels are, so it makes it easier to get around.
All about the fanfare.
Mm-hmm. Indianapolis has always been a great one for that.
Well, that looked right on line there by the freshman, Mostella. A little bit long.
Would have been big, would have cut it to 8 again. 2:15 to go. VCU led by 18 at the break.
Well, you know, the way VCU has shot free throws in this game, you know Tennessee, if they can keep it right, they're going to start fouling.
Then we really will have midnight madness around here.
I mean, they're going to start fouling because they want to.
Johnson in the corner.
Finally.
First points of the second half for Melvin Johnson after 20 in the first. Couldn't come at a better time for VCU to answer the Tennessee challenge. And now minute 36 to go, and Tennessee's leading scorer on the bench.
Coach, I don't know about you, but I think both of these teams and both of these coaches have to be happy after game one. If you're Coach Tyndale, recognizing really no point guard, they played hard, they were down big, and found themselves to get back. And if you're Shaka Smart, no point guard, going big, nice job, the versatility.
A chance for Lapis and Miller time. I'm going to pose all three of these. What team will surprise people this season, guys?
Well, I think Michigan. I think Michigan has a great perimeter. Walton, Karis LeVert is back, and Zach Irvin, one of the best shooters.
Coach Fisher and Winston Shepard, San Diego State.
How about disappointing?
I think Syracuse, well, I'm sorry to say, Carter, Syracuse, but they lost a lot from that team last year, and I think they're going to rely on some guys who haven't really stepped up and done it.
Villanova always wins their conference, but they always fall apart in March.
And how about who will win the national championship?
Well, I'm Reggie, go ahead.
Defense wins championship. They return 7 of 8 players that were in heavy rotation. I'm going with Virginia.
Coach, Reggie, before we were on the air, we were talking about Phil Jackson having Kobe and Shaq. Who's got the players? Kentucky's got the players.
I was surprised, Reggie. I mean, Virginia top 10 to begin the year, but national champions.
I like their defense. Tony Bennett always has these guys ready to play. Again, 7 of 8 returning players that were a part of that team last year where they won the ACC. I think Tony Bennett has something special going on.
By the way, VCU, 4 straight NCAA tournaments. They have a chance this year to make it 5 straight. No program from Virginia has ever been to 5 straight NCAA tournaments. That's amazing considering the great Cavalier team.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's something VCU has a chance to put a stamp on.
And December 6th, this VCU team at home goes against Virginia.
Huge, potentially top 10 matchup.
They beat them last. I believe VCU beat them last year with a late shot.
Woodson is fouled out, and Shaka Smart has some direct words for Dominique Woodson. There is a technical foul. So Dominique Woodson fouls out of the game. There were some hard fouls in there for the big man from Tennessee. Shaka Smart took exception to it.
Yeah, he was the one who was involved in the scrum with Lewis.
And Donnie Tyndall telling Woodson to stay seated and silent on the Tennessee bench. Waiting to get the official announcement here, and we'll get it in a moment.
Well, here's the play that Shaka Smart started to go a little bit ballistic. That's just a good contest there by Woodson. I don't see anything malicious there. That's more so his body size.
No, that's fine.
That's just a good on-the-ball play. It's a foul. Maybe he didn't appreciate the staring over.
Yeah, but there was nothing with the play.
But on the play, that's Well, how about a heavyweight matchup there? Woodson and Mo Alley Cox. Okay. I would pay for that.
Tennessee bench. Technical foul. Head coach VCU.
There's both a technical foul on Tennessee and on Shaka Smart, and Jamie Lucky's going to come over and tell us about it.
They get a bench technical because he's disqualified. Shaka gets a technical foul. There's no shots.
So, in the end, 2 shots coming off the foul. So
they called a technical on Woodson, and they called a technical on Shaka, and that's no shots.
They nullify one another.
So like offsetting penalties in football, and at the end, still a foul remains on Woodson, and you have Treveon Graham going to the free throw line to wrap it up. And in a moment, the Vols and the Rams will shake hands at the end of VCU's season opening win. Kind of an odd, tough game with all the turnovers and the fouls. Now that's what both VCU and Tennessee want to do to teams throughout the season, force those amount of turnovers.
Wasn't great
without as
rhythm.
many fouls.
Not a lot of rhythm to this game.
You know, this is the kind of game, really, that VCU plays in a lot because they're so aggressive. Their hands are everywhere.
Sure.
And especially with the refs on high alert to call these hand checks and things like that, there's going to be games with a lot of fouls, especially early in the year.
Again, I think Shaka found something in his team. Again, this is only game one, but I like the changing and the versatility and the flexibility he had with going big. Remember, Briante Weber didn't play tonight because of the one-game violation, and then the backup, Jaquan Lewis, goes down with a possible concussion. But they found ways.
I love Larrier. I love Gilmore.
Yeah.
Williams is a good player. I mean, they have 4 freshmen that are going to contribute this year a lot. To go with Treveon Graham and Melvin Johnson and Burgess, Briante Weber. This is a really good team.
Deep, very deep.
McGee's fouled out for Tennessee. Carmichael in.
Again, for them, we just looked at the host sites for the Final Four. To me, come March, when they do make the playoffs, seeding is so important for VCU because they've got to have a higher seed. Last year, they were upset against Stephen F. Austin, a team that they should have won. And we talked about how difficult it is for them to game plan against. But they've got to get a high seed and get that confidence.
Well, that's why the game against Villanova is going to be a big game. The game against Virginia is going to be a big game. Those RPI games where they're playing teams with good RPIs are going to be huge games for them to be able to get a good seed.
Well, speaking of the upcoming schedule for VCU, November 24th against Villanova, and then Michigan or Oregon. Those games are part of the Legends Classic at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And then just after that Old Dominion game on November 29, it's December 6th versus Virginia in Richmond. So the Cavaliers coming to VCU's house for the big matchup.
And they did lose last year late in the game. Burgess made a shot late in that game to beat Virginia at Virginia. This year the game is at VCU. And another game that's going to be important for them is the game at Cincinnati. Another chance to get a quality win. So to get that high seed, they're going to have to run through a very good league like the Atlantic 10 and win some of these out-of-conference games, Villanova in particular, and if they get a shot at Michigan.
But that's what prepares them for March.
Yes.
And now VCU becomes big Tennessee fans the rest of the way, because after you get the season opening win, you want to see the Vols improve and get wins down the stretch to pad your resume as well.
No question.
15th ranked VCU has an 85-69 win over Tennessee. Shaka Smart, Donnie Tyndall share a handshake. End of game one of this Veterans Classic presented by Quicken Loans. 62 fouls in the game, but in the end, our Quicken Loans play of the game. Is there any doubt? Jordan Burgess, big stick back.
Well, this was an unbelievable play. So strong and athletic right there. That was a big time. He got Reggie Miller hyped up.
And showing some nice athleticism there. Jordan Burgess with the throwdown.
Play of the game brought to you by Quicken Loans, engineered to amaze. So Jordan Burgess and the 15th ranked Rams, they get a test from Tennessee. Single digits a couple times in the second half after leading by 18. But end up rolling away from the Volunteers.
Well, Donnie Tyndall and this Tennessee Volunteer team continue to play this hard at both ends.
Jamie Erdahl is with Treveon Graham with the Rams.
Well, just by the numbers, you were dealing with life without a couple point guards. How do you feel like you handled that in the first match of the season?
I think we did pretty good. We was down a couple point guards, but I think a lot of people stepped up and handled it.
You were pretty cooled off in the first half. What was the difference for you in the second 20?
Just keep tackling. First half I was all my teammates just said keep shooting, keep attacking, and a couple shots fell.
You had a tough situation, a teammate go down in the first half. How emotionally draining can that be, but also how did you guys respond?
I mean, it was real emotional, because that's one of our own brothers. He went down, and we just wanted to win for him. So the rest of the game just was dedicated to him, and we came out with the win.
Right, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
VCU gets the win, game 1 here in Annapolis, 85-69 over Tennessee. For Steve Lapis, Reggie Miller, Jamie Erdahl, our entire crew, I'm Carter Blackburn. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Game 2 of the Veterans Classic, Michigan State Navy comes your way after Inside College Basketball here in Annapolis.
Welcome to Alumni Hall, Inside College Basketball, presented by Quicken Loans, as we have the Veterans Classic midway through the doubleheader. Michigan State and Navy will be the second of 2. VCU Tennessee just wrapped up. VCU with an 85-69 win, tipping off the start of the 2014-2015 college basketball season. The VCU Rams getting off on the right foot, and we want to right away welcome in Monteen Cleaves with us, and Shaka Smart, head coach of the VCU Rams. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
First question, not necessarily on the good side, but everybody wants to know how Jaquan Lewis doing right now after the injury we saw.
Well, I think he's stabilized. He's certainly sustained a concussion, so we had to get him out of the noise and the lights, back in the locker room. Our trainer's doing a good job with him, and we just got to nurse him back to health.
Yeah.
And, I noticed Tennessee came out, they pressed, but it seemed like in the second half, late in the second half, they backed up into a zone, and you guys found a way to make the adjustment.
Well, the press hurt us early. We were 1 point guard down. Then our starting point guard sustains a concussion. Our third point guard had foul trouble. So we're playing Treveon Graham, who starts at power forward at the point position. And certainly he was out of position, but I thought our guys did a good job rallying.
Coach, we've got a little bit of the game that we can show you. You'll start your film session early. We can give you at least the quick look. I know in the first half, Melvin Johnson was off to a great start. You've talked a lot about how important he can be to the team this season.
Well, the guy can really, really shoot. And so what we've got to do is make sure that we're getting him open looks from outside. I thought in the first half his aggressiveness was terrific, and that really gave us a lift and gave us a lead.
We saw them cut that lead to 8, though. At that point, what had changed for you?
Well, we got away from being the aggressors. With our style of play, if we're not the more aggressive team, then we're not very good. And, Tennessee's got a unique style of play. They press, but then they fall back into a pretty aggressive zone. We were without our point guard, so that affected us to some extent. We'll get better.
And I was impressed with Jordan Burgess. I actually was. And, the dunk he got, I almost hurt my back when I got out of my seat.
That almost went back to your high school day.
High school day. Can you just talk a little bit more about, his role this year? Because I know he came in top 100 in the country. Just talk a bit about him.
Yeah, Jordan is a great asset for us because he does a little bit of everything. He can rebound. He can play a lot of different positions. He doesn't mind doing the dirty work, and he has great toughness. That dunk he had tonight is definitely an extra benefit. We don't get that a lot, but we'll take it as much as we can.
I mentioned Melvin Johnson, the great night. You were talking about him over the highlights. We want to show you because Melvin Johnson, we're taking a look at who was engineered to amaze, brought to you by Quicken Loans, and he is the one. 23 points, 5 threes. We knew he could shoot the long ball. 3 assists as well, the steals and the rebounds, an entire team effort. Coach, thanks for being with us, and good luck. It has just begun, but it's off to the right start.
Thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you guys down the road.
We just won't be at Navy SEAL training probably with you. That's the only thing we probably can't handle.
I think my team would be in great shape with that.